welcome everyone. I'm Diana Sturt, the Chief Executive of Merton Chamber of Commerce, here with Caroline Cook, my colleague, and welcome to those that have not attended these Reach Out and Connect webinars that we initiated back in April at the very start of lockdown. And they've really been very much about informing businesses on supporting you really to operate through these difficult times. And obviously digital is everything, as we've just heard in comments just now. Right now in lockdown 2, actually, although it's desperate for some businesses continue to trade, and businesses continue to trade quite well as well. So the digital presence is all crucial for most of us, and we're very pleased today to welcome back Mark Shipton, who's the owner of Little Shock, who's going to introduce us to the Google tools that are free, actually, which is even more beneficial, I think, to help us really raise the profile of our businesses and get our name out there through the Google suite of tools. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Mark. Mark's going to speak, and then if you've got questions as we go along, if you put those in the chat box, I think you're probably all familiar with that, the chat at the bottom. We'll take those at the end when Mark's gone through everything, and we'll have time for a discussion as well. And if you would like to see who is in the meeting with us, you can click on the participants list also at the bottom, and that will give you the list of people that are in the room with us. Likewise, to stop feedback, I can see most of you have done it, but if you can mute your microphones whilst Mark is speaking, that will help with the audio for us all. So that's, I think, my introduction. So without further ado, Mark, passing over to you, and welcome.
Hi, hello everyone. As just an introduction was, my name is Mark. I run a small digital agency in Wimbledon. Going to run through a lot of the free Google tools today, because Google is half of what I do really. It's obviously easily the biggest search engine on the internet. Anyone who uses the internet will find it hard not to interact with Google. Basically every ad you see that's not on Facebook is somehow related to Google. Even the ones you go into other websites, they'll be provided by Google, the majority of them. Everyone will use it for search unless you're deliberately using something else. If you have an Android device, you're hooked into Google, providing them data. Even if you use an iPhone, you're probably using Google search, because again, there's not really a brilliant alternative. So I imagine all of you using the internet are interlinked to Google, and they're manipulating you. So I want to show you how you can use their tools to manipulate them to try and improve your search appearance online, how you can gather data using their tools, how you can try and predict trends, how you can advertise on their services, and crucially, how you can get free exposure by kind of behaving in the way they want your business to behave, providing them with the right information, getting the right data, the right reports, to kind of get into their good books online, as if it were. And the more you do that, the more readily you'll find that you get traffic and exposure as part of Google. So first off, is you might be thinking, why does Google offer free tools? Like, why would they spend billions of dollars on something, on a lot of their tools that generate them absolutely zero direct income? And their philosophy would be that they want to foster a friendlier internet, a more user-friendly way to use the internet. The more user-friendly it is, the more people will use it, the more people they will just return to it again and again. A lot of it is data gathering for them. And ultimately, if they can provide tools that allow you to improve your website, to improve your web presence, more people will use Google, and they will generate more cash via ads. Ads is their biggest revenue by a long way. Like, things like Android don't even come close. So that's all they want to do, is get more people online, get people clicking more ads, viewing more content, that sort of thing. So first thing I wanted to explain is how how Google search kind of works, and their killer idea that they came up with originally, which is their algorithm. Their algorithm is like probably one of the biggest trade secrets in the world, and it's just a huge machine learned formula that can calculate how people appear in their search results. This is why Google actually is different than other search engines. They started by just creating a search engine that took individual words that you put in a particular order, and it basically did a search of the entire internet for those words in that order. Slightly later, they mixed in the ability to search in any order and bring back different results. And then one day, they conned onto the idea that if we make a formula for the best results, then it's going to make it harder for people to manipulate our search results, and we will give people the best content. So the aim of the game for them, even to this day, is to provide the user with the best search result. The number one search result should be the one that people want to see, and that is all Google are really about. As part of their algorithm, they take in, there's a term that you might have heard of called search engine optimization. It's a thing that I do and a lot of people do. And you're optimizing your business and your website to be more Google friendly, and you're trying to manipulate it to appear as the number one search result. And that's a whole subject in itself. Like there's a huge amount of things you can do there to make your website better. They also use different factors to improve those search results, and I always call this authority. So the more authority your website has on a particular subject, the higher you're going to appear in their search results. So imagine that Wikipedia comes up highly a lot of the time, simply because when you have reams of information about a particular subject and a lot of people are linking to that subject, Google just says straight away, well, look at all this great content, this fully researched content, let's put them in the number one search result. So that's a way that they've effectively manipulated Google to become the top result. They use also other indicators like reviews online. If someone's got really great reviews, Google will be able to see that, and they're more likely to recommend your business because you've got brilliant reviews and they want to recommend brilliant companies. They also, on the general content of your website, you'll have a Google robot that will come to your site and will read all your content. So the better your content, the more relevant it is to your business, the higher you're going to rank. And then they also look at things like user interactions. So they track people on their Android devices, on Google Chrome, things like that. And the more someone interacts with the website, the more pages they click on, the longer they spend reading your website. Google factors this in, and it realizes that a lot of people are liking that content. They spend a lot of time on there, they're interacting with it. Let's go and rank that quite highly. So that's another factor to look at. So that's basically how Google search works. And the aim of the game is to be as good as you can as appearing in that search using their free tools. And then you're going to get organic free traffic to your website or your business, and hopefully get more inquiries from that. So I'm just going to run through a few free tools that you can use to get this and to aim at this really, and then a couple of paid for things as well that are on top of that are more sort of quick results. If you're going to pay money for something, you generally get faster results than going through the real diligence of using the free tools. So the first 1 and 2 free tools are kind of interlinked together. Number one is a really good resource that they launched quite recently called Think with Google. And it is a website full of stats, insights, trends, user behavior. So if you go on there, you'll, I think recently they're pushing a thing around the US election and what people searched for in different states, whether they're looking for conspiracy theories, that sort of thing. So they offer sort of trends, and they actually have editorial content that interprets that data for you. There's a lot on there at the moment about how you can adapt to COVID and lockdowns. So I get a lot of my data from to see how people's behaviour is changing. So that's a brilliant resource to go and find the latest trends on there. So really about behaviours, to be honest, consumer behaviour, and how you can use that to your advantage and what you should be looking out for. So if there's one website you're going to subscribe to and sort of read the content of as a business owner, that's a really important one. interlinking in that, but a different resource is something called Google Trends. So this is quite simply as it sounds. It simply shows you the trends within Google on different keywords and search results over time. So the data they publish has run from, I think, 2004 until today. So let's say, for example, you've got a business and you're just not getting as many inquiries as you were before. If I give you a real world example, one of my clients is a removal company, and they found that they were just getting less and less traffic to their website. We'd optimized for certain search terms, but we're just getting less traffic. And the reason for that is we looked at Google Trends and we found out that the word removals was actually kind of on a downward trend. But the term man and van, which is a term that they use in the moving industry, to mean just a guy with a van, a much cheaper option, that was actually rising in the Google Trends. So we kind of swapped our tactics on that and we started optimizing for a different service. And then the website traffic went back up again. So if you've got an industry or business where you think, is this declining? Are there less people looking for it? Is there more competition? You can use Google Trends to go there and put in your search terms. You can just see what people are searching for over time. Equally, if you had a niche or startup idea, then you could go there and you could find out whether something was booming in popularity, and maybe you could jump on that business bandwagon before anyone else, and you could make a real killing off of something new. So that's a really useful tool just to find out what on earth people are searching for, and that's entirely free. The next on the list is Google My Business. So this is something that if you run a small business and you don't have, you absolutely need. It would be number one on my list for something you should have as a new business. So Google My Business is the little search panel that you see when you Google pretty much any business on Google now. So if you put a company name into Google, you'll have all seen on the desktop, you get a little panel on the right-hand side that has company photo, maybe some photos of outside of their business, a street view thing, it has reviews, business information, that sort of thing. That is, Google started that as a robot service. So you had no interaction with that. They tested it to see if they could use robots to go across the web, find the relevant information and pull that in for their users. But they then opened it up to applications from business owners to claim their listing. And Google have a tendency to try these different services and then bin them off. The hundreds of products they've binned off over the years is just ridiculous. But this is something that's done really, really well for them. So if you haven't claimed your business, it's definitely something I would do today. And the more you can give Google information within Google My Business, the more they will be sure of your authority, they'll be sure of your business, and the more they will promote you on the web. So if you want to appear in Google Search or Google Maps, this is the tool that you need to do. And my recommendation is you log into that or claim it, and if you haven't done it yet, if it's half updated, then it's a massive top of your listing to do is to update it fully. The more information you put into that page, the higher your authority with Google will be. So they're not, let's say, you've got a business and your next door neighbour is running the exact same business. If you've only got half the information that they've got, Google's going to recommend them because it's going to be sure that their opening times are up to date, that they've added nice photos, that let's say they've got 100 reviews and you've only got one. They're going to say, well, this business in our eyes is probably better for us to recommend than the one next door. So let's put it above the list. So if there's any information there you haven't filled out, I would go and do that straight away. There's also things at the moment like COVID information. So they can ask you if you're opening normally, if you are providing online appointments or over the phone services instead of in-person services. They've even I got an email a couple of weeks ago to ask if businesses that I was managing were using masks, how often they were cleaning their hands, things like that. Because it's really, really important to Google at the moment that they're recommending people that are, number one, open, and then number two, being as COVID secure as they can be. So that is just a product that just keeps on growing. So the more you can fill that with information, the better. It's also the best place in Google's eyes for you to gather reviews. So I would say your number one business tool on Google is definitely Google My Business. The next on our list is Google Analytics. So some of you are probably using it, may well have used it before. Google Analytics is just the free tool that Google provides website owners to understand where they are getting their traffic to the website from, how their audience is behaving on their website. So how many pages they're visiting, how many times they visited before, sometimes where they come from, or they don't always provide that information because different privacy settings people have. They'll even show you a user flow of the best landing pages and then where people visit onto your website next and where they end up exiting. So from that, you can use that information to try and improve your website. So if people, let's say, are only going to your homepage and then they're leaving, maybe they're finding out all the information they need, or maybe they're put off and they don't find what they want and they go to someone else. So you can start to interpret that information to understand how to make your website better. They also offer demographic information such as ages and locations and things like that. So you can see whether that demographic information matches the profile of the customer you want. So if it was different, you might think about advertising to a new customer, or if you really know who your customer is, try to change your website or where it appears to try and get the sort of customer you want. So that's really just a very top line of the things you can find in there. It is like a huge tool with so many different sub-tools within it, and it's entirely free. And if you're a small to medium business, it's the only analytics service you're ever going to need. There are others on the market, but I think there's probably one or two of my clients who use a different service. Everyone is quite happy with the tools that are within Google Analytics. So if you don't have that, you can just simply get an account on Google Analytics and you can install a little piece of code on your website and it will start gathering data for you. If you do that, you need to have things like privacy policies to make sure you're within the law on that. So that's something to look at. The next two tools are actually paid for, but there is a freebie you can use within it. So Google Ads, everyone will be aware of. They are the results that you see at the top of the search results that are marked as ads when you search for something. But lesser than that, they are also Google also place ads around the web. So say you're on a content website, maybe like a news or a blog website, you'll see adverts on there, and a huge amount of them are provided by Google, even if they're not labeled as such. There's a lot of other ad providers out there and a lot of big ones, but Google is a huge player in that market. So banner advertising and things like that you see on different websites, that's all part of Google Ads. If you get ads within applications on your phone, if you use an Android phone, that's all set up within Google Ads as well. So you can do that within one place. Within Google Ads, you will bid. There's a bidding system. So if you want to get into the top results on Google search, you will bid against other people who also want those results. So I know that things like gambling, the huge gambling companies, they'll be paying sort of 20, 30, 40, maybe £50 sometimes for particular ads that they want people to click on. But then if you're in a more niche situation, you've got very few people bidding against you, you may be paying 15p a click, that sort of thing. So a good thing to do is understand the keywords you really want to go for, and whether you could potentially look at some more niche keywords if those ones were too expensive for you. As part of Google Ads, they use something called remarketing. So remarketing is, again, probably something you've all been victim to, as it were, unless you've really locked down your privacy settings on your web browsers and your phone. So when you go to, say, an online store and you look at a jumper or something, and then you don't buy it, you've probably seen that jumper haunt you around the web as you go to different places, always cropping up again and again and again. Or it may be an advertisement from the same company with a different product. It's the ones that track you around the internet. So remarketing is marketing again. It's finding people that have visited your website and they've not made a purchase, or they've not filled in a contact form, but you think they might still be interested in your product or your service. You then design advertisements to try and recapture them. So a good one would be a discount perhaps on a particular product. So say they went to your website and saw something that was worth £100, you could then advertise to that person for the same item at £80. and you can be really specific. So you can only, if you want to do page by page sort of situation on your website, you can decide which ads people should be served depending on which pages they sort of visited. So you can get quite technical on that. But as a top level, it's simply following people from your website back around the net and advertising for them. They're the two paid ads, but within that, within the Google Ads, there's also a free tool that anyone can use that you don't need to pay for. It's called the Keyword Planner. So the Google Keyword Planner was created so that people who wanted to advertise could find the best keywords for them. So they could put in a keyword and find out how popular it was, although that tool's a little bit hit and miss because some things on there don't show any data. But a much better tool is one that finds you different keywords. So say you're not quite sure what your business should be advertising for, you can give this tool particular keywords that you know are relevant to your business, and it will, from its data, Google will see other keywords that people are also searching for, and you can add those and you can decide whether those ones are relevant to your business. So that's a really good tool to use, even if you don't plan on using Google Ads, just simply to understand the other things that people might be associating with your business or your industry. And I use that a lot, but doesn't seem to be particularly well known. And then last on my list is different from all the others, but I'll still include it because it's something that might be relevant. If you've got a website that is a content website in itself, so if your business model is getting people to your website to read your content, Google runs something called Adsense. So Adsense links into their other ads, and it's simply the complete reverse of Google AdWords. So instead of paying to advertise, Google pay you. So you apply for it, you send them a link to your website, they review your website to make sure it's legitimate, and then you can start placing adverts on your website, and when people click them, you simply get a cut of Google's share for whatever they're charging for that ad. So it's another way to make money if that suits your particular business model, but it depends obviously what you're doing. So that is an overview of all of their tools, all the top ones that I would recommend at the moment. I will now just do a quick screen share. So I will just run you through. So instead of taking it all down in words, you can just actually get a small example of sort of how things look on the web and how you can use them. So let me just on to the first one. So this is Think with Google. This is the first tool that I was talking about. And this is simply a way for you to understand what's happening at the moment online, really, but specifically in terms of search and consumer behavior. So what people are searching for, what they're now not searching for, how things have changed. So you see this one here. This is a big one at the moment, lockdown trends that Google think will be here in the long term. So maybe user behavior has changed and things like people no longer going into the office but working from home. This is how Google interpret that will change consumer behavior and will change online searches and things like that. They also have things like marketing and strategies for small business up here. So you can find out different data and tools that you can use to sort of build yourself a marketing plan. If you're going to build yourself a marketing plan on an online one from scratch, this would be a really good place to start. And then they have free tools as well. So they will score your website. They can test your website to see how Google friendly it is. So there's a lot of different things in here for free. You've got a subscribe button here, which if you're going to do one small thing today, you might want to do that because it will just, all you got to do, put in your email address and your company info, and they'll just send you probably an email, I think about once a week, something like that, with different information, different trends that they've spotted, sort of their top articles at the moment. So if you've got a small 5 minutes today to kind of just do one thing, that might be something that you want to do. This is Google Trends. So this is a very quick, easy tool. They simply show you what people have been looking for online. So as I said, you've got on here, which is the elections and what people have searched for around that. You've got Halloween and the sort of things like horror movies, pumpkin patches, people trying to find, and how that relates to different locations. Coronavirus search terms, so that'll be things like symptoms, how to report, how to get tests. They'll show you all that, and then you can put in whatever you want in here, and they will show you search data for that. So I've just put in digital marketing. Let's look at United Kingdom. And we'll go all time. Well, I'm not quite sure what this anomaly here was, but as you can see, digital marketing over time has been steadily on the increase. So for me, that'd be a good sign that I'm still in sort of the right industry and people are definitely still interested in what I've got to offer. So if you know the particular industry you're in and you want to find out information on that, this is a really good place for you to get some data on that. This is Google My Business. So some of you will be aware of this if you've got this platform already. Within here, you can post to the front page of Google, you can update your information, you can get insights on how many people are viewing your business, you can check out your reviews, you can also, something I forgot to mention is you can also now receive messages on Google. So there'll be a box on the front page of Google when someone searches for you and they can directly submit a message via that. You can add photos in here, the more the merrier. A top tip is if you can add more than 100 photos, I know you get a huge boost in the rankings because I've done it with a couple of my clients. So if you are a business that could potentially get a lot of photos, like a cafe, a restaurant or something, that should be something you definitely should look at. And as I was mentioning before, here you can, at the moment, they're asking people to update all their COVID information just to say they're still open and that you can post to the front page some information and things like that. You can see this was the last post that I did here. This is Google Analytics. So let's bring up my accounts. That. So to show you one of the tools you can use. So you can just see a quick overview of one of the accounts here that I manage. And you can see that, so this client, their biggest source of traffic is organic search, which is effectively Google search. They include others as well, but you can effectively say that is just Google. So in the last 7 days, you can see this client's had almost 250 people come from search, only a couple of referrals and only 2 from social media. So that's just very small snapshot of the sort of information you can get from Google Analytics. This is Google's keyword planner. So this is part of Google Ads, but you don't have to pay for it. And if we open the keyword planner, I can look for new keywords. So it's recommending I put in, for example, meal delivery. And you can see with that keyword, it's given me lots of other potential keywords that I could start to advertise again. Interesting one here is HelloFresh meal. So HelloFresh is an actual branded company. That's not a generic search term. And that's really high at the moment because I imagine people are at home and they not want to go to the shops, so they get their meal deliveries from HelloFresh. And the idea here for Google is that you start to compete against this keyword. So you can actually compete against different branded keywords. Some businesses will have a particular deal with Google that you can't compete against them. I think Apple may have that in place, but most of them, if you've got a competitor, you can simply start to advertise for their particular keywords if you want to. So this is a good place to come if you want to get ideas for your business and for the different ways you can start to advertise on Google, or naturally try to optimize your website, your business for those keywords as well. And that is the summary for now. So I think we'll go to some questions.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Mark. Well, we've got mountains of questions here. So I think we'll probably take them in the order that they were posted, so everyone can see the questions on the chat. So I'm going to ask you one by one to come in with your questions, and if you can be quite succinct, because obviously we've only got like 20 minutes. And I really would like to get through them all, and I'm sure Mark will need to expand a bit on them. So I'm going to go first then to Joshua. Welcome, Joshua, your first session with us, I think, and you've got a question around Google Ads.
Yes, hi all. So just for context, I am a psychologist and a life coach, and I found advertising to be very difficult and don't have a lot of experience in it. Just because I know how popular mental health is these days, but I think advertising can be a real aspect of my business in terms of visibility. So my question really, some colleague told me whether Google Ads, whether there's a way to time them around holidays or special events, and does that really make a difference? I know that's quite a generic question, but I was wondering, in the context of mental health, especially since we're hearing it a lot these days, if there's any thought on that, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of more generally, you can set even when you want your ads to appear. So if you knew that, let's take your business for example. I'm going to make a generalization and say that people are probably not looking for mental health tools or help when they're at work. So let's say they've had enough of work and they go home and they really think, I need to get some help with my mental health. So you could time your ads to say, well, let's stop showing them from 5 to 8 in the evening, because that's probably when people have got that time to be looking for my business. So you can create those ads and show them on specific days of the week or specific times. I don't know whether your business would benefit from different seasonal things, but potentially something maybe like winter time, people are probably more likely to be looking for sort of mental health things. So yeah, certainly timings will make a big difference rather than running your ads all the time.
Very good point about the evening adverts. So thanks for that.
No problem.
Thank you both. Right, let's move on. Amanda from Milner School of English. I think this is about Google My Business and the star ratings.
Yes, that's right. Hi, good morning, everybody. So we claimed our Google My Business some time ago, long time ago. I post regularly, update photos, etc. And at one point, the stars were showing on the listing, but at the moment they don't appear to be. Somebody suggested it was because we've got our listing as a school, and schools don't have stars showing on their information, but I don't know what I can do to get around that. I know other schools do have stars showing up.
Where are your stars not showing? So are you talking about in the panel on Google, or are you talking about on your website listing within the results?
So for example, if you put in Milner School of English into Google to search it, as you said, you come up on the right-hand side of the screen, and there's no stars there. But if you go into reviews, you can then see the stars from the reviews.
You know what? I'm gonna say you have stumped me on that, because I've never seen that occur before. To my knowledge, any place can have stars, and you have got plenty of reviews.
Yes.
I would like to learn about that. So would you, if I give you my email address, would you be able to just ping me that over, and I'll look into that? For me, that'll be, because that question will probably come up again, and I will know for future reference. I had not seen that before. But
okay, that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Critical point. Thank you. Okay, now first class coders, about updating photos and posts.
Hi, yeah, this is Marsha for First Class Coders. We teach children coding basically video robotics and coding for children. Mine was just, does it matter whether the photos that you post, if they're your business photos or customer photos, does that affect the massive boost that you were talking about if you have 100+ photos in there?
No, it's just over 100. I don't know whether that still exists, but I noticed it as a fluke. I mentioned one of my clients is a gym, and a lot of their people will post, a lot of their members will post photos, and we've uploaded a hell of a lot of photos. And I noticed once we went over 100, our search presence just skyrocketed. So I would still recommend the more the merrier, and it doesn't really matter where they come from.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Jennifer from Love Wimbledon asking about the new function of Google Analytics and Insights. Just want to expand a bit on that, Jennifer?
Yes, hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm from Love Wimbledon. Recently, Google Analytics released a version 4 that has predictive analytics, insights like churn, the likelihood that someone is going to not be a customer anymore. And I had wondered if you could expand on that and explain whether businesses that are not e-commerce related could benefit from this new Google Analytics.
So that, to my knowledge, is just based on mass data, so what people call big data. So that's not always specific to that web user. So I don't think they are predicting that if I keep coming to your website, I don't think they're predicting whether I'm suddenly going to be a customer or not. I think it's based on my profile. So I will have been slotted into a pigeonhole, and they will say, well, this, like a Venn diagram, I'm part of this group and this group and this group, and that person looks like they're about to spend some money, or they're particularly interested on this product or service. So I think that's how that works. How it would relate to a non-e-commerce website, I'm not entirely sure how you could benefit from that, to be honest. I can only encourage you just to look at their user guides. They would have published information on it because they want you to use their new tools to simply look at their support base. That's not something that I've yet looked at for any of my customers. I only have a couple of e-commerce sites at the moment.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
I think Mark was telling Caroline and I at the beginning, you know, Google move apace, so that it's not only our challenge of knowing what they're offering, but actually they change it, and you've got to keep up with it. That's why Mark has a job doing that, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mark?
definitely.
Okay, we've got lots more. Helen from Love Wimbledon about maps and listings.
Yes, hi, sorry, we are sort of coming forward with lots of questions from Love Wimbledon, but we represent 460 businesses in the town centre, and we're trying to get them all claiming their business, so it's not all for us. Our concern is that when you're going onto maps and you're looking at restaurants near me, for example, you often get restaurants coming in that are miles away when we have a plentiful supply of restaurants very, very nearby. How can we get those businesses listed in that near me section?
So if I understand your question, you're saying that people even within your area are not getting listed.
That's
the
correct.
way I would say to do that is to improve those listings. So I have seen what you are talking about before. Sometimes I'll put near me and I have something in the centre of town, which just seems ridiculous. But these people will probably, one factor I know for sure, that their business listing will be really good. They'll have hundreds of reviews, loads of information, and loads of pictures, videos. They might have a video of the inside of their store, something like that. So they'll be up to date on that. Another thing I would guess, and I don't know this for sure, those people have probably spent money with Google before, and they may have had some sort of background tick put against their listing for being a paying customer. I wouldn't say that for sure. I don't think anyone could say that, but that really wouldn't surprise me if that had happened either. But in terms of what you can do, get your people to definitely claim their listing as a real basic, because it's so easy to do that. And then just add as much information as they can. It's going to takes you a couple of hours. If it's going to be worth hundreds of clicks to your business or website over the course of a month or a year or whatever, it's definitely worth doing. I would really plow home that message that it's really important. It's one of the highest things they could do to try and get results. To give you an idea, I would say my Google My Business and my reviews are probably my #1 source of my new inquiries. Whenever I ask anyone where they found me, someone either recommended me or they found me on Google, doing like a web designer, digital marketer, near me, kind of into Google, and that's how they find me.
Can I just come back on one other question that's really helpful, Mark? We do free 360-degree photos for our businesses. Are
Yep.
they considered higher ranking? Do they give a better ranking in the algorithm than just normal stills?
No one knows for sure, because it's a billion-dollar industry, how Google's algorithm works.
Yeah.
I would hazard a guess and say yes.
Okay.
I've only done that a couple of times for a few businesses, but they do get a lot of views, and I would say it does put, if you're putting a number against each one of these factors, I would say that comes pretty highly, yeah.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Back to Marsha at First Class about the relationship between Twitter and Google, Marsha.
Hi, yes. So Google have been publishing a lot of information about digital skills for parenting and well-being, and they've got some good stuff on the search engine at the moment. If I actually do a lot of retweeting of that content, does that help raise my profile to retweet or to highlight Google's own information?
So Twitter and social media can cause benefits. So in terms of the Google algorithm, social media, just a social media post is quite low down the list in terms of the number it will add to your score, but it does do something. So if I would have posted, I'm not great on Twitter myself, I would have posted on Twitter, maybe have 100 or so followers, they're going to say, well, he's not worth much. So let's give him a very low score. If you got, say, if you got Stephen Fry tweeting it, his Twitter page is going to have a higher algorithm score. So the more successful you are with Twitter and social media, and then you post, you are going to have, it is going to help. I recommend all my clients, even if they don't really use social that much, if they just post there once or twice a month, that will have a small impact and it will start to build up. So yeah, social does have a benefit, but it's not particularly high on the list of things that you could be doing.
Okay, thank you.
That's good, thank you. Okay, Judy Thompson about photos.
Yeah, hi, I'm from Oxfam, and one thing we have is people will take a photo, for example, of unwanted donations outside the door, which isn't a great image. Is there a way that can be removed or put down the priority of what comes up so it's not the first image people see?
It is infuriating, that problem. I had a client who someone decided to take loads of selfies outside their shop and post them to their Google My Business. And when you Google their name, this guy's face come up as the business profile photo. It was just ridiculous. And we had to report that so many times to get it taken down as unrelevant. So if you want it to get taken down, unfortunately, they have to have broken one of Google's guidelines. If they haven't broken that, Google are not going to bother taking them down. So what you can do to combat that is put up photos that people are going to look at more. So if you've got some nice photos of your interior or your products or maybe even the signage outside, the more views you get to that photo, Google will start to rank that kind of higher up the list. Something worth mentioning, something that Google have this thing called local guides. So they sign up people to contribute to Google Maps. I'm like a Jedi warrior. I'm like a level 7 local guide because I've posted thousands of different things to Google. My photos have had, I don't know, something like 1.2 million views on Google. So if you can get one of these people, like me, a local guide, to publish information about your business, that will start to rank highly in Google's eyes because they'll think, well, this person's really good, they know what they're doing, they leave a lot of reviews, they take a lot of photos. So if you were to find someone like that who could post to your business page, that would also help.
So Mark, that's interesting because Marsha from First Class Coders has asked a sort of related question to that, which is, what's best really, your own photos posted or customer photos posted? How do they relate to each other?
I think it will mainly be on popularity of those photos in the end. If you were, say I was going to post a photo at the same time as you today and neither of them had any views, the business photos are going to have the priority because Google's going to know, well, the business posted those, so they're the official kind of photos of what that business is about. But Google also want to combat bad businesses. And if someone, let's say, uploaded a photo of a broken product or a meal that was less than satisfactory, they don't want to push that down the system. So if that photo becomes very popular and everyone was like, well, look at that rubbish burger, I'm not going to eat there. It's within Google's sort of their merit, I suppose, to kind of promote that photo. So as a rule, the best, most popular photos will kind of be the ones that are shown. But overall, if you haven't got many photos, then the ones uploaded by the business will be the best ones.
Great. Okay. And then Anisha from Love Wimbledon, do you want to ask your question about profiles?
Yeah, so it kind of links to what Helen was saying just about our local, boosting our profile locally, because, for example, as you had mentioned, you've experienced yourself, even though we're based in Wimbledon, we'll have things to do nearby, and these are suggested as central London landmarks. Essentially, how can we boost our profile so that we can even come up as like a recommended landmark because of the events we hold, or something else nearby?
You're talking about your actual business listing or people who you help?
Essentially both. So as Helen mentioned, we support a lot of, hundreds of businesses, but how would we get, so like the theatre, the local theatre, that doesn't show up as things to do nearby, but landmarks in central London will. So how to kind of combat that?
The things to do is a difficult one. I would guess that a thing to do has to come within a certain category on Google. So when they started it, you had to choose a category and stick to it. And as a business, I do about 3 headline kind of things for my customers. So it was very annoying for me to have to stick to one of those, and I had to prioritize what the best one was. What I would recommend is there are lots of websites online that have figured out the best category for you to be in. So what I would say, because I can't give a definitive answer for that, what I would say is do some research online, just for sort of, if you put in Google My Business best categories or something like that, there'll be a lot of articles would have been written, and they'll probably have worked out the best one that you can list those businesses or those places under. And I would imagine once you get into the things to do sort of area, there's probably a lot of categories. So maybe it's attractions or something like that. It's strange that theatre doesn't come under that. I don't know exactly why that is. I wouldn't like to hazard a guess, but I would say that's a good place to start, to kind of look at some articles online for the best categories to be in.
Okay, lovely. And
okay.
Thank you, Mark and Anisha. Right, more on photos, Elizabeth from Carer Support. Where are you, Elizabeth? There you are. Yeah.
Revealing myself.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so I was just back to the question about photos, because of because we're a charity and it's mostly quite confidential, the lot of the work we do with people, we mostly rely on stock photos. Now with lockdown, we can't even take pictures of our beneficiaries even if we wanted to. So does it matter in your rankings if you have to use stock pictures to accompany your message?
No,
people not really care very much?
Not to my knowledge, because no human is rarely checking a Google listing unless you make a request for them to do so. So number one, you have to make sure that your images are royalty free, that they are not stolen from another website, because there'll be bots that are searching for that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But as long as they're free to use and there's no royalty claim on them, should be no problem at all. You might find that they're not that popular for people to look at. But as a representation, if you're just talking about as if it were brand image, you just want them to be there. It's no problem. There's no less benefit to using those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And from Heather from Luxury Moon about Google Ads.
Hi, it's just that I just wondered how you really approach it if you're going to do your first ad campaign. For example, they give you an offer, that you get £75, I think, if you spend 25. I mean, is that the kind of thing you should just start out with, that offer?
Yeah. People get the offer a lot. I think it's a standard thing that everyone gets when they sort of sign up to any sort of Google service as a business. I'd definitely take them up on that, because £75. If you want a good place to start, just start small. Don't go spending your £100 straight away, because it can be a money pit and you just spend and spend and spend. So I'd say really sit down and have a think about what people are really searching for when they want to find your business. Make sure you are as local as you possibly can be. So within Google Ads, you can set the location, like a radius or a particular place, say Wimbledon, and it will just be Wimbledon and surrounding areas, that sort of thing. And try and be as niche as you can. So the more generic you are, you'll find out that you come out for search terms you didn't really want to appear for, and you're competing against people you didn't want to compete against. But occasionally I'll put a search term into Google and something completely irrelevant will come up. And I just think they've really not done their homework on why they're appearing there. So start off really small, try spending 10, 15 pounds, see where it gets you, and then look at that data and see if it's a good search term for you or whether you want to stop that and start on something else.
Lovely, thanks, Mark. And Heather, do you want to do your second question there as well, about how you categorize yourself?
Thank you. I just find it really hard what to categorize myself for, because we sell menstrual products, so it's, you know, it's a woman only service really, but also it can be regarded as health, it can be regarded as retail. You know, which is the best category for me to be in? I've just never been very sure.
If we're talking about Google My Business, the listing, you can now use multiple categories.
Okay.
Well, unless Google have now changed their mind again, but last time I checked it, maybe a month or so ago, when I created a new one, you can still use multiple categories. So as I said in a previous answer, I would look online for the ones that are getting the most sort of traction. Because if you list under particular categories, they will open up other features to you that you might not have been able to get under different categories. So really do your research and try and find the best one. There will be nothing specific to what you're doing that I can think of. So I do agree with you, it's quite a tricky kind of industry to be in, to be that specific. But health certainly I think would probably be the one that I would go for as the primary category.
Okay, thanks. That's the one I've done. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a really important question though, isn't it? Because so many businesses, you know, can categorize themselves slightly differently. So I thought that was a really useful question, Heather. Thank you. Right, I think we've got through all of the ones that were listed. Caroline, yes, go on.
I've just got a question. How do you actually get found for the search term near me? What do you put onto your website? Because like say we're a Kickstart Gateway which is a government program nationally.
Yeah.
How would we get found for the search term Kickstart Gateway or Kickstart Scheme near me?
You don't need to use the terms near me anywhere on your website or within your listing, because near me is effectively a command for Google to say, I don't know what near me counts as, I'm not sure anyone quite knows that, but there'll be a particular radius. So let's say I'm putting in sports shop near me. What I'm really saying to Google is sports shop within 3 mile radius, something like that. Or near me will be list the ones closest to me first. And then within that, if there's someone a bit further out than you, but that Google thinks they're doing a better job, they've got loads more reviews than you have, they're going to knock you aside and they're going to recommend these guys. So things like the ones to look out for that would be if you run like a restaurant or a takeaway, like cafe, that sort of thing. They're the ones that are really going to struggle if you've not got really good reviews, because there's so many of them around. But things like, let's say, a swimming pool, there's really not many of them. So you're going to find it a lot easier to kind of compete on that. I don't know what, yours is a bit of a tricky one, because you said about it being like a Kickstarter thing. I'm not sure how Google would handle that. I don't think that would be a category within their system. Maybe like business services or business assistance or business startups, something like that. That's probably what they'd kind of start to categorize you under.
And I think, Mark, am I right in saying that you'd have to have location services switched on your computer or whatever you're using? So that's the other, yeah.
You haven't got it switched on, the little pop-up should open to ask if they can use location.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Are there any other one last final question? We have done mountains and we are almost on time. So no, I think we're good. Mark, that was absolutely amazing. You do it. It just makes it so relevant. Thank you so much. And people have asked about Mark's details. So we have pasted his website there, and we are also going to be sending out some details from Mark in terms of a PDF. And we also want to come back to you to ask you, out of what we've rattled through today, what you would like or value more information on, because we can hold another one of these in January with Mark. So we'll come out to you on that with the PDF after this. And of course, it is recorded as well. So yeah, I think just reflecting on the commentary is a really useful exercise. So yeah, many thanks, Mark. So just to wrap up, just a little advert from us. And actually, I was going to say the other thing that we could all go away and do as a thank you to Mark is actually do a review on his business. So I think that would be a good action if we could all do that. So here, I just want to promote a couple of things that we are running here as part of the government's recovery, which I know is terribly difficult when we're in lockdown, but I think the government never anticipated that we'd have all these lockdowns. So as Caroline has mentioned, the new Kickstart scheme, which has been, I think, received quite a lot of coverage on the news today. It is around, we are operating as a gateway, which means that businesses that can't put forward 30 placements, because that's the minimum threshold, can use a gateway like us to promote their jobs. And the jobs have to be new jobs, and they are particularly targeting young people to help them get 6 months good work experience. It's a fully funded placement. So if you'd like to find more about that, then it's on our website or just contact us. The other one here is something called Peer Networks, which is action learning with other business leaders. And again, there's some criteria around that you have to have 5 employees, over £100,000 turnover, and been trading for at least a year, but that we still have vacancies on that if anyone would like to join, and I think they will be really valuable activities to get involved in. Now, just looking forward in terms of our continued events, we have one specifically for the creative sector next week. I mean, obviously the creative sector is in desperate times, so that's one about support and, as we call it, courage, to see how we can support the creative sector. We just being announced today, we've heard as we went into lockdown about the new grants that are coming out from government. So Merton Council have agreed to do a session on that. So there are more details. That's only just been agreed. So we will get more details out on that. We're also looking at, obviously, for those that employ people, this sort of lurching that we've done from furlough to a job support scheme back to furlough and whatever, and all what that means. So we're looking at that. And then for networking, because from our survey that we did a few months back, businesses really are keen to network, and we're now doing our networking on a platform called Remo, which allows you to have a conversation with small groups as well as in the larger group. So we are doing a Christmas catch-up on the 3rd of December. Our Christmas get-togethers are usually the highlights of our year, so we will do that, but it will be online. So to keep up to date, there's all our details, and we'll be, as I say, in touch about the follow-up to this. Have I covered everything, Caroline? Yep, so a big thank you to Caroline for making this happen with Mark, and a big thank you to all of you. And yeah, I think we need to plan into our diaries, don't we, some Google time. So have a good day, everyone, and we will see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye.